Fox 2 and Amarin present Glenn Zimmerman's Spring Weather Outlook.
Welcome to our Spring Weather Outlook. I'm Fox 2 Chief Meteorologist Glenn Zimmerman. Simple question for you. Are you ready for spring? Well, we've got a group of meteorologists that are chomping at the bit for a change in the seasons. Chris Higgins, Angela Huddy, Jamie Travers, John Fuller, and Haley Fitzpatrick. Spring is a season of transitions, and in those transitions, we can get some pretty violent storms. Of course, we cover them before, during, and after, along with our partners at the National Weather Service. Their assessment team gives us some really good data on how storms operate. Meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick has more.
Spring severe weather season is right around the corner, and we've had a peak interest in tornadoes, how they form, how fast the winds can get. But one notable interest is how tornado damage is surveyed after a storm moves in. Tornadoes, they're a violently rotating column of air extending from the base of a thunderstorm to the ground. The degree of damage left behind can be as minor as a few branches broken off trees, maybe a couple shingles on a home, to as violent as leveling homes, even businesses completely wiping the path it travels clean. After severe weather strikes and a tornado has wreaked havoc over an area, a team of certified storm specialists at area National Weather Service offices are assigned tasks to survey the damage. They gather data to reconstruct the tornado cycle. They analyze where it first occurred, when and where it initially touched down and lifted, its path, considering the length and width, and its magnitude.
So the first step is assessing where a general track would be, and that's where radar really comes in handy. We use the radar data that our radar out here outside of our office senses to identify a general idea of where the tornado may have begun and which direction it tracked, how long it was on the ground, and where it lifted. And then we plot that physically on a map. We don't try to rely on GPS or cell service when we go out to do some of these surveys. So we want to be as self-reliant as we can be.
After assessing where the tornado touched down and later lifted, the team heads out to the affected areas where they survey damage and compare it to a list of damage indicators.
The small barns or outbuildings, family residences, manufactured homes, hotels. You'd be surprised at the number of damage indicators we have.
From there, they then select from a list of degrees of damage, which is a list that reflects how damaged that structure was. From that, a rating of EF0 to EF5 is then assigned. As the meteorologists out in the field are surveying the data, there's another team of meteorologists back at home base who monitor quality control. They receive the data sent in on the iPad and track the accuracy of point and place with radar data.
And those folks who are quality controlling it are making sure that the time is right, the location is right, that it's for the correct tornado, because sometimes we're surveying multiple tornadoes in a relatively short period of time.
Once all the information is collected, a written statement is conducted based on the evolution of the tornado, its time on the ground, when and where it took place, how long it lasted, and what time it lifted. That information then becomes public knowledge for anyone to access.
And of course, before those storms hit, we need good forecasting data. We need good analysis of the atmosphere. Chris Higgins is here to tell us more about a revolutionary new network that is being rolled out by St. Louis University.
If I'm going to worry about where thunderstorms happen in the St. Louis metro area, I need to know information about what the weather is like in St. Louis, not the state of Missouri, not nationwide.
Dr. Robert Paskin has been a professor of meteorology at St. Louis University since 1976. He has seen some amazing advances in technology, including the Seamless Weather Network.
This is completely off the wall, just completely unique and different.
The Seamless Weather Network, or Mesonet for short, is a high-density, high-quality network of weather observing stations that he and his students have been installing in strategic locations across the area, including right here at Fox 2 in Maryland Heights. These stations measure a variety of weather parameters, including temperatures, winds, and relative humidity. The goal is to paint the most complete picture possible of the current state of our atmosphere, not just at one of our local airports, but across the entire metro area.
Everything is tuned for exactly what the community needs.
It's not just about monitoring weather conditions right now. Data from these instruments are going into a hyper-local weather model back at St. Louis University that is revealing weather features that are very unique to St. Louis.
The confluence of the Mississippi, the Missouri rivers, the Ozark Mountains, the river bluffs on the Illinois side, it's a combination of all of those things tied together with the weather itself to generate these unique wind patterns.
Patterns that can influence everything from where thunderstorms develop to the movement and concentration of air pollution.
There are weather flow, weather patterns just inside the city of St. Louis that probably are why the city of St. Louis is violating the EPA air quality standards.
One of the seamless weather stations was recently installed at the Little Creek Nature Area in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. Students and teachers here love it, including science teacher Dr. Bob Shaw.
It's always been a dream of mine to have students be able to work with real data. So now they're collecting real data, so when they get older, they can start to look at the climate as it changes with the weather changes that they're experiencing and have a little more authentic rear view mirror.
It's a community service project to partner with community members, school districts, community colleges, high schools, provide the community with better forecasts. It's St. Louis University's motto of higher purpose, greater good.
Coming up, the sun is making big news this spring and summer. Welcome back. We all love springtime. Warm days, lots of sunshine, wearing the shades. But the fashion accessory this spring may be Eclipse glasses. Angela Huddy has more on one of the most anticipated events of the spring.
Remember all the excitement about the total solar eclipse back in 2017? Well, St. Louis, we're about to get another great show on April the 8th.
Look at the corona! The corona is crazy!
A total solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and Earth, completely blocking the sun and casting its shadow on the Earth. And on Monday, April 8th, that shadow will cross North America, once again in close proximity to St. Louis.
There are places where you can go hundreds of years without being near the path of totality. And for the St. Louis region to have back-to-back eclipses like this, it's a really great opportunity.
Will Snyder, manager of the James S. McDonald Planetarium, says the thrill of a total solar eclipse is not to be missed.
It might only last a few minutes, but to have the sky grow dark and stars and planets come out in the middle of the day, it's something that you won't soon forget.
Safety is the #1 priority when viewing a solar eclipse. Except during the brief total phase, it is not safe to look directly at the sun without special eye protection.
They're not sunglasses. You don't want to use those to look directly at the sun, but solar glasses are designed to directly look at the sun in the sky, and they block out all but 1/100,000th of 1% of the sun's light.
This go round, the path of totality will not pass directly through St. Louis. If you stay in the metro, you will experience a 99% partial eclipse.
Even with 1% of the sun's light shining at about 2 o'clock local time, you'll still need to use safe observing methods like your solar glasses, and you won't get to see the sky grow as dark as it does during totality.
For those able to travel, it's just a short drive down south to the big show. Carbondale, Illinois, or Cape Girardeau, Missouri are right on the center line and will experience up to 4 minutes of totality.
That's where you get to see the moon completely cover the sun in the sky. You can take your glasses off and safely look at the solar corona.
There is only one thing that can really wreck the show.
And I think the thing that worries us is probably the weather, because back in October, we were gearing up for the partial eclipse, and of course there were a lot of clouds here, but fingers crossed it'll be a little better on April 8th.
To learn more about eclipses and why they matter, visit the planetarium right now for a special star show. And on April 5th, the Science Center's First Friday program will focus on the big event.
So you can come in, you can get solar glasses, and get all the information you need to safely watch the eclipse.
Snyder encourages everyone to make a point to see this eclipse.
We won't see another total solar eclipse in the United States until 2045. So for almost 21 years, we won't get to talk about a lot of this stuff.
So from seeing the eclipse to harnessing some of the sun's rays, John Fuller is charged up about renewable energy.
From electric cars to windmill farms to solar energy, we are hearing more about green energy, mainly due to global warming creating erratic and extreme weather. Global and national temperatures are on the rise, and so are the billion-dollar storms. According to many scientists, the rate of warming is unprecedented. So the rush is on for green energy, particularly solar.
The push for green energy can be controversial and political, but fundamentally it's better for the environment and your pocketbook. In addition to our daily forecast, we provide a solar cast that highlights the potential benefits of solar energy. Even on a cloudy day, there can be a 10 to 20% solar energy savings.
The applications for solar energy range from residential to commercial to governmental. Installing residential solar panels has been streamlined.
Basically, they're using the longitude latitude of a particular home along with the pattern of the sun to pick up how the sun's going to actually hit each surface of the roof. On top of that, it's looking at shading elements and stuff, so trees, other buildings around, to come up with the exact exposure of any particular roof plane.
The energy the sun produces is incredible.
In one day, the sun can create 10,000 times the whole entire global usage need.
Put another way,
the sun can project enough energy in 1 hour that the whole world uses in a year.
Solar farms or fields are located differently. This huge Amaranth facility in O'Fallon, Missouri can provide energy for 650 homes. But first, we must estimate the potential energy at a given site.
We measure it with a device called a pyranometer, and what that's doing is measuring the amount of energy or the sun's intensity in basically a 3x3 area. And then we use that to kind of predict how much energy we can produce from that.
Another facility at Aquaport in Maryland Heights not only provides shade, it can energize homes close by.
The fuel to produce that electricity is free. As we produce that electricity using those sun's photons, it's emissions free. Since that fuel is free, it's one of the lowest cost energy we can make today.
Rory Sands agrees.
Solar panels, once they're up there, they're not creating any kind of pollution.
In the future, look for innovations and efficiency improvements in battery storage applications in the case of solar.
Coming up, one of our favorite events of the year is back again this year. Plus, that spring outlook is just ahead. Welcome back. One of our favorite events of the year is back this spring. The largest classroom in St. Louis returns to Busch Stadium. Jamie Travers has more.
Before we know it, baseball will be back, which means the return of the Redbirds here at the stadium, as well as the return of a special event where area students can learn how the weather works. Weather Day at Busch Stadium returns on Wednesday, April 24th. On the big day, thousands of students will fill these seats.
Let them see your faces too!
Fox 2 is partnering with not only the Cardinals, but the St. Louis Science Center to bring the concepts behind what makes the weather to life.
There it goes!
5,000 to 6,000 students will be able to learn about something, and how fun to be able to learn in the Cardinals Stadium, seeing weather really brought to life from the team of meteorologists at Fox 2 and also our science education team.
At Fox 2's first weather day last year, Busch Stadium transformed into the city's biggest classroom.
Even though at the Science Center we have this awesome stage where we do live demonstrations every day, still we are a little bit confined too. So there we can really make things spectacular and big and showy. And that's really a great way to learn when you have these very exciting experiences. It can really stick with you.
These showy experiments were a home run with the students.
Probably where you threw the bottle in the big old can and it exploded and it went everywhere.
The weather balloon going up, that was my favorite part.
Hi, balloon! The sodas, they exploded and they sprinkled everywhere. I saw some people get wet.
Weather Day is a great tool for teachers while getting a welcome change of scenery for a day.
It's fun because I love science. We do a lot of science experiments in the classroom, so it's good for them to see things done outside as well. Things they experience everything from day to day, whether it's hot, snowing, whatever, like severe weather, that we've had. So it's exciting for them to see how those things can actually happen.
It's sure to be a thrilling experience for educators, their students, and a likely highlight of the school year. So save the date, Wednesday, April 24th, because after all, who doesn't want the perfect excuse to enjoy Major League Baseball on a school day?
It's really great because we know everyone loves baseball. We all experience weather, and it's really cool to bring everyone together so that the kids can experience something that they don't get to while they're there, learn some concepts that they can actually take home and teach their families, help them stay safe with their families too.
Coming up, it's the Spring Outlook. Are we really all the way into spring? Welcome back, and it's time for the Spring Outlook over the next 3 months. And over the last several days, we've had some really nice spring-like temperatures, and then there's that little snowstorm last week. So is spring really here? There are pattern changes on the way. Now, it's generally pretty easy to say that in the spring, since spring is a transitional season. But this year we're seeing bigger pattern shifts. While we've been in an El Niño pattern for the last few months, we are propelling towards the return of the La Niña pattern of last year. Here's what that means for our spring outlook. March is never the spring month you want it to be. You want sun and warmth and all that goes with that, namely some outside time. But March is fickle. Some years it's more like winter than spring, and I think this year is one of those years. Our February has been amazing, mild overall, but that changes in March. It's almost like the months flip. Near and below normal temperatures are on the way, so while we've had 50s and 60s this month, look for more cool air, and mostly 40s for highs for the first half of the month. When we do get the temps back to an acceptable springtime range, rain will follow. So while we have a couple of decent chances of rain first 2 weeks of March, the last 2 weeks have more chances with more warm air. Last year, March started warm and then a chill settled in the middle of the month. This year, the chill is at the start of the month. March 2023 brought some decent rains and 3 days with measurable snow. Now this year I can't rule out a stray winter snowflake, but more rain will be around late in the month. April will be noteworthy for a couple of non-weather reasons. The solar eclipse, as Angela mentioned, on April 8th, but also this. The cicadas are coming. 2 broods of cicadas are supposed to appear in the month of April at the same time, known as a dual emergence. We've seen this sort of thing happen in St. Louis within the last 15 years, but it's safe to say the bugs will be everywhere, and they will be loud. Weather-wise, April is an unsettled month. Severe weather is something to watch as we transition from winter to summer. This year will be no different. Since we're moving into a new global pattern, the unsettled atmosphere will be more prominent. So look for more rain at least once a week and maybe twice a week. And severe weather chances could go along with both. Temperatures look good this April. 60s and 70s will be prominent. Last year, April was highlighted by severe weather in the middle of the month with 12 tornadoes on the 15th. This year, we need to be prepared for rounds of rain and potentially more severe storms. Temperatures last year were all over the board, 7 days in the 80s. But this year, look for mainly 60s and 70s. May has the potential to be all over the place. Spring, summer, stormy, wet, hot, or dry. I think this year has the potential to be all those things. The wet and stormy pattern from April should continue into May, especially in the beginning of the month. The first 2 weeks could have several rounds of rain and maybe some strong storms since that global pattern is changing. Remember, El Niño to La Niña by summer. Dry time is back toward the end of the month, and by that time, the warm air will start to build. Last May was extremely dry, over 3 inches short on rainfall, and it set up a really dry summer. This May starts with a bang and rain. Then dry time is back late in the month. Last May, we had 4 days over 90 degrees, a warmer than average May on record. This year, temps will start cooler at the beginning, then warm toward the end of the month. And that wraps up our spring outlook. But remember, we've got a team of meteorologists here with over 100 years of forecasting experience forecasting St. Louis storms. I'm Fox 2 Chief Meteorologist Glenn Zimmerman. Thanks for watching.